Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a man and woman are on a date. The two prepare to toss themselves into a powerful river, and they tie themselves to each other so they can be together forever. However, in a cruel twist of fate, the evil truck-kun comes out of nowhere to drive through the forest and take them both out. Moments later, our protagonist Daze wakes up and is shocked to see what heaven looks like. A woman explains that this is not heaven, and she is a guide to those that descend upon this world. Her name is Annette, and she reveals that Daze was chosen and transported to this new world. A fearsome dragon flies by as Annette explains that this world is shrouded in darkness, and Daze was chosen to be a hero who brings light to this world. Daze doesn't think of himself as a hero at all though. He was just some guy trying to commit double unalive with his girlfriend, and has now been brought to a strange world. Annette prepares to give him an inspiring speech to make him want to become a hero, but she is shocked when Daze does his thing and overdoses on some sedation pills. Annette purifies the toxins from his body, but Daze says that she's actually bothering him. Annette demands for Daze to become a hero to fulfill his great mission of saving this world, but Daze is just looking for a place to stop living. Daze keeps chowing down on his pills, but Annette reminds him that he is the chosen one. Daze points out that he never decided to be chosen, but Annette explains that Truck-kun is actually an otherworld selection truck. Among the many people in Daze's old world living unhappy lives, only those struck by otherworld Truck-kun get to redo their lives in this world. This is actually a world transfer service that her world provides. Being hit by Truck-kun means that he was unhappy with his life, so he was granted a chance in this world. Daze finishes up taking some more pills, and he angrily points out that the stupid truck interfered with the happiest moment of his life, his double unalive. He points out that they don't have the right to decide who's unhappy, but from her point of view, he was saved from a life so unhappy that he was going to end it all. Ultimately, Annette decides that his complaining doesn't matter because Daze will surely change his mind when he sees his stats. Without exception, every human brought to her world is granted the ability to wield superhuman powers. However, she is shocked to find that Daze is insanely weak. Not only does he only have one hit point, he is also poisoned even after she detoxified him. Annette refuses to believe that someone could be this weak, so she desperately searches to see if Daze has some kind of special skill or exceptional ability. She is horrified to find that he has absolutely nothing, and she has never seen such a weak otherworlder. The very sick-looking Daze goes to leave, but Annette stops him and finally agrees that he must have been brought to this world by mistake. She determines that he won't be able to survive in this world, and she is shocked when Daze finally shows some confidence, and he declares that what she just said sounds a lot more like what his life is really about. Daze explains that he is branded a failure no matter what world he lives in. Annette apologizes once again for the mistake and asks him to stay with her for a while. This world is incredibly dangerous and filled with monsters, so his life will surely end the second he steps outside. She is stunned though when Daze tells her not to worry because he's looking for his final resting place anyway. The reason why Annette is so shocked is because Daze is very different than all the others. Annette used to take pride in guiding otherworlders, and meeting them excited her. However, she started to realize how pretentious and arrogant they were. Soon she felt like her job was simply to flatter heroes over and over again, so she closed off her heart. However, her life has been turned upside down as Daze is totally different. Daze prepares to enter the dangerous new world, but Annette begs him to at least pick a profession first. Daze declares that he doesn't need to pick a profession because he's a born writer, and he says goodbye to the girl that he says has beautiful ears. As he leaves, Annette dramatically declares that she finally understands. The thing she has been waiting for was for this man to enter her life. Outside, Daze realizes that he can't read the writing in this world, but he can tell that there won't be any cafes for him to go to. Just then, a voice pops into his head and announces that Daze has earned 5 experience points for discovering a new area. Daze wishes the voice would stop as he suffers from migraines, but an even louder voice announces that Daze has risen to level 2. Just then, a tree collapses and a girl screams as she is attacked by a monster. She begs Daze to help her because he's an adventurer, but Daze just stares at her and thinks about how a lot of people have weirdly shaped ears in this world. She keeps begging for his help, but Daze just asks for her permission to write a novel about her. Daze eventually realizes that she wants him to save her, so he tells her to give him a moment. Daze makes a half-hearted attempt to reach out to her, but ultimately declares that he can't reach her. She asks him to use a sword or a spell or something, but the monster just ends up taking a hold of Daze as well. Daze simply says that he can't breathe, and the girl explains that the tree is stealing their life force. They only have a few more minutes before their lives end, but she is shocked when Daze says that that's good news. Daze finds delight in his final moments and says goodbye to the world. The girl begs him not to give up, but Daze is completely unresponsive. She is stunned that her life will end in such a strange way, but she is even more surprised when the tree is covered in darkness and it explodes. Daze is shockingly still alive, much to his disappointment, and the voice announces that Daze inflicted 300 damage with his poison. The girl is absolutely stunned as this great adventurer before her eliminated the monster by making it absorb his poison instead of his life force. Daze rises to level 3, and the girl wonders if he poisons himself. She then wonders why he pretends to be weak when he is pretty strong, but he explains that this just always happens to him. He wants to stop existing, but somehow he ends up surviving. He has tried to stop living 5 times, but it has never gone right once. The girl has no clue why he's so depressed, but she is grateful that he saved her life, so she thanks him. She offers to take him to her place to rest, and he introduces himself. When Daze touches her hand though, he is reminded of his girlfriend Sachan, and he wonders if she came to this world too. The girl then angrily tells him that her name isn't Sachan. She tries to tell him her real name, but Daze's already in the clouds thinking about Sachan. The girl gets frustrated as he ignores her, but he has a good reason. Daze has just found a reason to live in this new world. He goes over his last memory with his girlfriend and declares that he will find Sachan wherever she is in this world. His declaration isn't exactly what it seems, as he wants to find her so they can commit double unalive again. Back with Annette, she prays to the god of her world so that Daze can be protected. She also wishes to meet him again one day, and she gets her wish as Daze returns. She couldn't be happier to see him, but she is stunned when his new cat girlfriend is there too. Annette can't believe that he already has a girl companion, but she composes herself as Daze has a question. He wants to know if Annette has met a girl named Sachan, and Annette is horrified to hear that a third woman is involved. Daze leaves as Annette had no information about Sachan, but the cat girl assures him that he will find her. She wants to stop by the castle town of Roth before going to her house, but she is shocked when Annette appears to stop her from holding hands with Daze. Annette thinks it's shameless behavior, but the cat just wants to know why Annette came with them. Annette is too shy to answer, so the cat realizes that she must be in love with Daze. Of course, Annette denies it and simply declares that it's her job to protect the weak otherworlder. Him being an otherworlder makes the cat realize that is why Daze is so strong, but Annette points out that he's actually really weak. The two argue about how weak he is, but the cat reveals that Daze defeated a monster and saved her life. Annette is horrified because saving her life means that they have gotten close, and she angrily calls the girl a thieving cat. Just then, Daze announces that he found something wonderful. He calls it a very comfortable bed, but it's actually a coffin, and he tells the girls to wake him up when they arrive at the town. Daze says goodnight to Annette and Tama, but the cat angrily points out that isn't her name. Daze is already fast asleep though, and Annette sheepishly points out that Daze called her the right name. Annette then takes on the task of dragging Daze in his coffin, but Tama wonders if that's really her job as a clergy person. Eventually, Tama gets tired of dragging Daze in his coffin. She demands that he get out and walk, but there's no response from him. The girls begin to wonder if he's even alive, but his stat screen reveals that he's just resting. Annette is ready to continue, but the cat must remind her that her name isn't Tama. Inside his coffin, Daze remembers his girlfriend again, and promises to find her so they can double unalive. A while later, the girls wake Daze up as they have arrived at the castle town of Roth. Daze is amazed by this new world, and his group goes to meet with King Thomas and Princess Charlotte. Thomas allows them to stay the night in his castle after their long journey, so the girls think he's a very generous king. Thomas, however, only has one condition. He loves hearing stories from travelers, so he would like for Daze to share one pleasant memory from his travels. Daze offers to tell him what it feels like to sleep in a coffin, but this just sounds like a threat to the king. The king changes his mind and instead wants their advice on something. Thomas brings in a valiant warrior named Gomez and a minstrel named Otto. He explains that due to the influence of the Dark Lord, monster activity has increased recently. The king is growing too old to deal with this, so he has decided that one of these two guys will become Princess Charlotte's husband and the next king. Charlotte is having a hard time choosing, so the king asks the travelers for advice. The king is shocked though when Daze has no clue what to say. This is a life-changing decision for Charlotte, so Daze doesn't think they should be asking for advice from travelers that just arrived. Daze boldly declares that Thomas is a horrible tyrant and he is unfit to be a king. The king is stunned as Daze leaves, and Daze thinks about how he actually had no right to say that stuff since he himself is unfit to live in this world. The girls apologize to the king profusely, and they explain that Daze is an otherworlder. The king understands, and Charlotte stares at Daze. That night, Annette notices that Daze isn't sleeping, but he explains that he never sleeps well. Annette finally musters up the courage to ask about his girlfriend Sachan, but she becomes furious when she finds Tama sleeping in his bed. Tama explains that she was just cold, and they start arguing, so Daze just leaves. Outside, Daze finds the princess, and they admire the beautiful lake. Daze admires it for a different reason though, as he wants to throw himself into it. Charlotte can't believe that his life is so troubled that he wants to end it, but Daze can tell that her life seems to be more troubled than his. Charlotte can't deny it because she's having a really difficult time choosing a husband. Gomez just arrived at the castle recently, but he has already become the most dependable soldier they have. Her father has a lot of faith in his strength, so Charlotte thinks she should choose him because of that. Otto, on the other hand, is her childhood friend. Whenever she felt down, Otto wrote songs and sang them to her. Charlotte wonders what she should do, so Daze points out that she is truly a kind person unlike him. Daze's life has been a continuous series of troubles, and he has attempted to unalive himself numerous times. Charlotte obviously cares about her father a lot, but Daze has done nothing but inconvenience his family greatly. Even through all that though, Daze has never once asked anyone else to choose how he should live his life for him. Charlotte is shocked by his statement, and he goes on to say that she should decide for herself what she will do. As he leaves, Daze tells her to ask herself what it is that she truly wants. The next day, King Thomas reveals that the princess has chosen who she wants to be her husband, and he wants the travelers to act as witnesses. Annette thinks that she will choose Gomez for the betterment of the kingdom, but Tama thinks that Charlotte and Otto are a better match. The king instructs his daughter to stand before the man she chooses, so Charlotte steps forward. Charlotte has given a lot of thought to her decision, and she shocks everyone when she decides to go completely off path, and she announces that she will commit double unalive with Daze. Everyone's jaws drop, and Annette even passes out from shock. Charlotte explains that she did a lot of thinking after she spoke with Daze. She realized that while Otto did sing for her every time she was sad, he also would come when she didn't feel sad. He was even making a ruckus last night. Charlotte has concluded that Otto simply wants to perform his newest songs to someone. Her reason for not wanting to marry Gomez is a lot simpler though, and it's because he smells. King Thomas calls her a fool and begs her to choose one of the other guys, but Charlotte finally stands up for herself and tells the king that he is the fool for trying to make her marry someone she doesn't want to. It turns out that she never wanted to get married in the first place, but nobody took her feelings into consideration. The only one who actually cared about her opinion was Daze, and Daze now understands why she wants to commit double unalive with him. Just then, Gomez gets really angry about being told that he smells, so he makes fun of Charlotte's nose and terrifies everyone when he begins to transform. After transforming, Gomez reveals that he's a servant of the Dark Lord, and he intended to acquire the kingdom by becoming its king so he could offer it to the Dark Lord. He never thought that the princess would be able to see through his disguise, but the princess actually didn't figure it out. Gomez just really smells bad. Gomez has heard enough and decides to just end everyone's lives. Tama desperately tries to wake Annette up to help fight the demon, but it's no use, so the king's guards go to attack. Gomez easily knocks them back though, and Tama must rescue Annette from being crushed. Tama launches a counterattack and decides that if Gomez wants to play so badly, then she will play with him. Tama is only a level 14 martial artist, so Otto declares that he will assist her by singing for her. Tama's then shocked to see that he's a level 89 minstrel. Otto's music gives her a buff, but Tama's disappointed to see that it doesn't do anything. Tama looks to Daze for help, but he's entranced by Otto's newest song. This leaves Tama to go one-on-one with the beast, and she manages to land a cat punch and a cat kick. Gomez easily pushes her back though, and mocks her by acting like he didn't feel a single thing. Gomez announces that he will put all his power into his next attack, and his iron horns will tear Tama to pieces. Tama's terrified of his sharp horns, but Daze interrupts and politely asks if the demon could end his and Charlotte's lives first. Gomez is in disbelief, so Daze explains that they both want to be eliminated, and it would be an honor if Gomez did it with his magnificent horns. Charlotte has been freed from the grasp of her father, so he wants the giant cow to grant them this wish. Everyone begs Daze to rethink his decision, but the thing Daze calls a giant cow is already on board. Gomez says that he will eliminate them first, then the king, and after that he will burn the city to the ground, ending the lives of every citizen in the kingdom. Daze couldn't care less since they won't be alive for all that, but Charlotte seems upset. Daze assures her that everything will be fine though, because their wish will be granted. Everyone begs for the monster to stop, but it's too late as Gomez has already started charging at them. Just then, Charlotte comes to the realization that she doesn't want her life to end just yet. She declares that she wants to continue living so she can protect the people of the kingdom. It turns out that Daze knew she would come to her senses, and he points out that she really is a kind princess. Daze had a plan all along as he pushes Charlotte to safety, and he declares that as his partner for Double Unalive, she simply will not do. Charlotte calls out to him as he's about to get obliterated, but Annette comes out of nowhere and protects Daze with the barrier. She's a level 18 priestess, and she refuses to let Daze lose his life while she is around. The demon's horns are shattered by Annette's barrier, so Tama follows that up with her Wildcat Strike attack. This attack is pretty powerful, and it sends Gomez flying out of the castle. Tama begrudgingly thanks Annette for saving her, but Annette points out that Tama saved her as well. Otto declares that he will turn their beautiful friendship into a song, but everyone has had enough of this guy already. Just then, the king apologizes profusely to Charlotte. He realizes now that he should have considered her feelings, and he doesn't think he's fit to be king or fit to be her father. He begs for forgiveness, so Charlotte accepts and they agree to be more open with each other in the future. The two have a very nice moment, but Daze can't help but think about how he failed to unalive again. A while later, a guard urgently warns that monsters have arrived at the southern gate. We see that Charlotte is in charge now, so she sends the royal guard to exterminate the threat. Back with our group, the girls hope that Charlotte will be able to handle the pressure of ruling as the queen. Daze speaks from his comfortable coffin and explains that Charlotte made the decision herself, so she will be fine. Daze declares that women that are losing their life are very beautiful, but women who stand up on their own 2 feet are beautiful as well. The girls are tired of his nonsense though, and they just wish he would walk on his own already. Eventually, the girls get tired and decide to take a break so they can eat something. Our lazy protagonist emerges from his coffin, eager to eat something, but they only have bread. Daze would much rather eat some boiled tofu, so Annette decides that they should look for some in a nearby town. The group is only a few days away from reaching Tama's hometown, but Annette would like them to make a stop at a temple. Normally, an Otherworlder arrives at one of the 4 temples in this world, and they head directly for the Dark Lord's castle. However, Daze's goal isn't to defeat the Dark Lord, because he just wants to find Sachan. This means that they have to visit the 4 temples to gather information on where Sachan is. Tama is shocked because this means that if they have a hard time finding her, then they will have to travel all around the world. Annette doesn't even want Daze to fight the Dark Lord because it's too dangerous, and Tama once again teases her for being in love with him. Annette denies it and explains that Daze just gave her hope when she had given up on her job. Tama points out that Sachan might be Daze's soulmate, so Annette admits to traveling with him to find this out. Tama agrees to go with them until they reach her hometown, but Annette's half-hearted thank you makes Tama realize that Annette would rather be alone with Daze. Annette ditched her job, so Tama wonders if she will even be allowed into the temple. Annette isn't worried though because the head priestess of this next temple is a dear friend of hers. Besides that, Annette didn't just leave her post without notice. She sent her letter of resignation using her familiar. This familiar makes its first appearance, but it does so by snacking on Daze's head. Annette scolds the little monster, but she gets even more upset when she finds out that it didn't deliver her letter of resignation. Daze points out that the little beast is pretty loyal for returning to its master, and he names it Melos. Melos seems to have taken a liking to him, but Daze just wants to get more rest. Just then, Daze must tell Melos to quiet down as he begins to panic, and a terrifying dragon appears. Dragons are this world's most powerful monster, and it terrifies the girls with a scream. Just then, a girl calls it Ryuka and tells it to stop. Annette and Tama are confused as the girl approaches the dragon, so they tell her to be careful. They are shocked though when this girl speaks a different language to the dragon and tames it. The girl assumes that Annette and Tama's group has already suffered casualties because of the coffin, and she recommends that they leave this area that is incredibly dangerous. Daze emerges from his coffin as he assumes that it's time to eat, and the girls ask the stranger to forgive his rude behavior because he's an otherworlder. Hearing this infuriates the girl though, and she vows to eliminate all otherworlders. She unleashes a power that terrifies the girls, and her attack must be blocked by Annette's barrier. Annette does her best to hold back the attack, but her shield is eventually broken. Our group is badly injured as the girls' attack did massive damage to the area, and Annette concedes that the girls' magic is insanely powerful. The girls vow to protect Daze at all costs, but the stranger brings them to their knees with her power. The stranger's symbol terrifies Annette even more because it's the symbol of the wrathful Dark Lord. Just then, the girls are shocked when Daze stands, as he has had enough of all the dangerous behavior. He points out that the girls have nothing to do with this. Daze reminds the girl that she's after otherworlders, and he is her only opponent. He tells her to do as she pleases, and reveals that he's prepared for his life to end at any time. His friends beg him to stop, but it's too late as the stranger grants his wish, and she sends her arm right through his chest. The girls are terrified as Daze collapses to the ground, and the stranger reveals that her name is Waldelia. Annette and Tama faint, but Waldelia is shocked when Daze reveals that he's still alive. He can tell that Waldelia has a lot of hatred inside of her, and Daze says that he can relate. Daze has lost his mind to intense hatred before as well. Waldelia is terrified to see him still alive as he approaches her, and Daze says that her eyes look very sad. Daze would like to know why, but Waldelia's terror causes her to flee with her dragon. She is still uneasy about what just happened, and she wonders just who Daze is. A while later, we see that Melos has brought our trio to the temple they were going to. The priestess rushes to Annette, but Annette tells her that Daze needs immediate medical attention. He's in really bad shape, so the priestess summons every priest to bring every healing potion they have. A while later, we see that Daze is fine as he shops for some poison. The vendor explains that the poison is most effective when thrown at a monster, but he is shocked when Daze just drinks it. Tama is furious because he just made a miraculous recovery, but the priestesses are glad to see that he's doing well. The priestess named Nisha explains that she hasn't met anyone named Sachan, but she is more concerned about why Annette is traveling with an otherworlder. She's glad that Annette quit her job because she's too pure for it, but she's upset to see that she's traveling with an otherworlder. Yisha hates otherworlders because they use their gifts they were given by the gods for selfish reasons. Just then, some strange rapping otherworlder named Kataro tells the girls to stop arguing and have some fun with him. They ignore him, but Kataro demonstrates his overpowered skill of mass production. It allows him to produce an unlimited amount of the world's currency, so he offers to buy the girls whatever they want. Yisha gets rid of the guy, but he promises to make them pay, and Yisha points out that all otherworlders are like that guy. Annette explains that Daze is different, but Yisha can tell just by looking at him that he's just as destructive as the others. Annette still argues for him and points out that he changed her entire life. Just then, Daze asks for money to buy some drugs. Annette casually gives it to him, but still tries to tell Yisha that he isn't destructive at all. Yisha is then shocked to learn that Daze doesn't have a gift. Despite that, Daze still fought against the wrathful Dark Lord for his friends. Yisha is stunned to hear this though, because the wrathful Dark Lord was actually destroyed by another otherworlder 7 days ago. Tama is just as shocked to hear this news, and the two girls celebrate because it means that peace has finally come to their world. This, however, makes them question who that girl with the dragon was. It's also strange that Daze arrived 7 days ago, but Annette can only think about how that was the day Daze completely changed her life. The biggest question is, if this world no longer has a Dark Lord, then why was Daze brought here in the first place? Just then, the girls are startled as Daze tears up a bunch of papers. Daze dramatically explains that he was trying to write about the events that have happened after being brought to this world. He was struggling to write though, so he is now despairing over it. Annette eagerly waits to hear what he wrote about them meeting for the first time, but her heart is shattered when Daze reveals that he didn't write about her at all. Daze isn't sure why, but his meeting with Walderia gave him a surge of creativity, and he hopes that something else that excites him will occur. Annette thinks he might find something if they explore the town, and recent events have made her want to buy Daze some stuff anyway. In town, we find that what she wanted to buy Daze is some heavy-duty armor. There is no telling when they will be attacked again, and Annette never wants to see Daze suffering ever again. Tama points out that Daze looks like he's suffering right now, but Daze actually kind of likes the oppressive feeling that the armor gives him. The girls go to do more shopping, and Annette tells Daze to stay there. Yisha finds him, and Daze explains that he was just searching for new excitement. Yisha declares that Annette will be staying with her from now on because she has always been a pure girl, and it makes her trust people too easily. Yisha is sure that Annette will be unhappy traveling with him, so she begs Daze to break up his party. Daze just smirks though, and points out that it's up to Annette to decide what she wants to do. He declares that Yisha has no say in the matter, and he wonders why she thinks Annette will be unhappy anyway. Yisha explains that it's because Daze is an Otherworlder, and she doesn't trust Otherworlders. Just then, Yisha is stunned, and a crowd forms as some guy arrives. This man is said to have been created by the heavens to stand above everyone in the world. He is an Otherworlder, and his name is Lord Suzuki. Suzuki announces to everyone that the Dark Lord was defeated 7 days ago, and he tells them to rejoice as peace has come to their world. The crowd erupts with cheer, and they all praise the Otherworlders, but Suzuki reveals his real intentions. He points out that they risked their lives to bring them peace, so it's only right that the Otherworlders be allowed to rule the world. Because of this, he declares that this time will be known as the Great Hero Age. Suzuki has decided to be the ruler of this town, and his buddy Kotaro tells the townspeople to bow down to Suzuki. Just then, Kotaro points to the girls and tells Suzuki that they were the ones that messed with him. Suzuki is furious and declares that they committed acts of violence to an Otherworlder. Annette tries to explain that he is mistaken, but Suzuki refuses to listen to someone who would bring harm to a hero. Nearby, we see that the town is on fire, and Daze states that he finally felt like he could write his masterpiece. Moments earlier, Suzuki pats Annette on the head and tells her to be a good girl. He uses some kind of skill on her, and she collapses to the ground. Kotaro celebrates and explains that the more pure Suzuki's victims are, the sooner they fall to his skill. Tama demands to know what he did, so Kotaro explains that Suzuki's skill turns anyone he pets into his slave. Tama demands that they release Annette, but Suzuki just uses his skill on her too. Suzuki brags about how powerful he is, but Yisha arrives to remind him that she didn't teach him to use his gift that way. She declares that the town will never fall under his control, and all the townspeople agree with her. Suzuki decides that he will just have to destroy the town, so he sends his wolves to attack everyone. He demands for Yisha to call him a hero, and tells her to be happy because he plans to use her church as his castle. The town is now on fire as chaos breaks out. Tama is under Suzuki's control, so she attacks Daze like a wild animal. Daze realizes that Annette was right about wearing armor all along, since you never know who might attack. Tama manages to destroy his armor, but the helmet ends up knocking her out by accident. To keep her safe, Daze decides to put her in a barrel with the sign saying that a wild cat is inside. Yisha collapses near him, and she points out what Otherworlders are really like. Suzuki used his gift for selfish reasons, and now his greed has become completely unstoppable, and he has lost control. Suzuki wasn't like that at all when he first came to this world, because he was quiet and weak. Daze surprisingly takes notes, because Suzuki has piqued his interest, and he tells Yisha to watch over Tama while he confronts Suzuki. Yisha reminds Daze that he won't be able to do anything, because he doesn't have a gift, but Daze has a feeling that he will finally be able to write his masterpiece. Daze allows her to come with him, but she is surprised to see how calm he is. Yisha explains that Suzuki is really strong, and Daze doesn't stand a chance against the gifted Otherworlder. She is sure that Daze will be torn to pieces as soon as he opens the door to the church. Just then, Daze takes out his poison, and Yisha is relieved to see that he must have a plan. She assumes that he's going to poison Suzuki's guard dogs, but she is shocked when he drinks it instead. He's all out of poison, so Yisha takes charge and tells him to follow her so they can sneak in. Daze just ignores her though and opens the door. He gets right to the point and tells Suzuki that he would like to base a novel on him. Suzuki assumes that Daze wants to write the heroic tale of Suzuki, the hero conquering another world, but Daze has a different idea. The novel will be about a man that gains more power than he deserves and falls into his own greed. Suzuki is insulted, so he sends his wolves after Daze, but our protagonist just stands there writing. Yisha handles most of the wolves, but one grabs her and Suzuki prepares to end their lives. Yisha warns that the attack is aimed right at Daze, but he just keeps writing. The attack is unleashed, but everyone is shocked when it is blocked by Daze's helmet from his armor. It turns out to be Melos in the helmet, so Daze thanks him. Kotaro is terrified because they're out of fireball potions, but Suzuki reminds him that he still has his number one pet. Suzuki warns that his pet takes the life of anyone it bites, and he laughs like a lunatic when Daze gets bitten. The beast collapses though, and Daze says that dogs should be chained up at all times. A voice comes from Daze's system, and it announces that he inflicted 600 damage to the beast with his poison. Kotaro is stunned as the wolf completely turns to ash, and Isha assumes that Daze infused himself with poison. Suzuki calls Kotaro a coward as he runs away, but Suzuki isn't ready to give up. Instead, he calls on his trump card, and Isha is horrified to see that it's Annette. He instructs Annette to eliminate them, so Isha defends herself and declares that they should retreat. Daze disagrees and explains that Annette isn't as weak as Isha seems to think. Daze approaches her, but Suzuki explains that his skill can't be removed by anyone, and Annette will be his slave for the rest of her life. Daze doesn't listen to the nerd, as he explains that Annette will be the one to decide what she does with her life, and Suzuki has no say in the matter. Daze places himself right in front of her blade, and reminds her that she is not some bird in a cage. Annette seems to be fighting Suzuki's spell, so he screams for her to hurry and eliminate Daze. Annette prepares to do so, but we then see what's going on inside of her mind. She's trapped inside of a cage, but Daze appears to shine some light on her. Annette finds a moment of clarity, so she stabs herself and breaks the spell. Daze catches her, and the two greet each other. Daze has Isha treat Annette's wounds, and she thinks about how he said that Annette isn't weak. Suzuki is utterly shocked by someone breaking his spell, and he can't handle it. He attempts to unalive himself, but Daze surprisingly stops him. Daze reminds Suzuki that he's writing a novel about him, so he can't end the story early. Daze instructs Suzuki to tell him his story, so we get a look at Suzuki's past. Suzuki explains that he was always timid, and stronger guys always made him their pet. He thought about unaliving himself several times, but he could never go through with it. One night, Suzuki bumped into some drunk guy, but he didn't have the courage to stick up for himself when the drunk guy insulted him. Suzuki was distracted, so he fell victim to the merciless truck-kun. He was brought to the new world, and he was greeted by Isha. She explained that he was now a hero, and he had to use the gift he was granted to defeat the Dark Lord. Suzuki's adventure began, and he learned to use his gift by controlling wolves. He used the wolves to defeat a monster, and he realized how powerful he was. In town, Suzuki would receive strange looks because he was different from everyone. He was bumped and insulted just like before, but this time he used his gift to get revenge. Suzuki explains that he was someone that suffered countless failures in his old world. However, he was suddenly granted power and made a hero. To Suzuki, it's unrealistic to think that someone that has gone through all this would try to save some new world. Suzuki decided to become evil, but he has failed, and he realizes that he will always be a weak nobody. Suzuki is shocked to hear how pleased Daze is, and Daze declares that his novel based on Suzuki is finally complete. It's the story of a miserable man who, despite hoping to live as a hero in this world, could become neither a hero nor a villain due to his own weakness. Daze has decided to call it No Longer Allowed in Another World. Just then, Dase's book bursts with energy, and the pages surround Suzuki. Daze thanks Suzuki because he helped him finally write something he was satisfied with again. Unfortunately, Daze decides that this book cannot be called a masterpiece. He tears one of the pages, and the ground begins to shake. The girls are stunned because they notice that a magic circle for summoning otherworlders has appeared. They have no clue what's going on, but they see that the power of teleportation is flowing back into the circle. Power erupts from the church, and the girls are stunned when they realize that Suzuki must have been sent back to his own world. Annette is sure that Daze didn't have a gift before, but looking at his system shows that he has a writing skill called Storyteller. Isha is shocked as she realizes that this is probably a special skill that only activates against certain targets, and in this case it's otherworlders. This is pretty horrifying, as it means that Daze must have been brought to this world to fight otherworlders. Daze falls to the ground as he once again failed to write his masterpiece, and he starts taking pills again. Daze wonders if he will ever find anyone else that intrigues him, and Isha wonders who this guy is. Daze wonders where Suzuki went, so he has to be told that he sent Suzuki back to his world. Back in town, the wolves leave, and Tama emerges from her barrel. Later, Isha gives Daze a new coffin, and she speaks with Annette. She predicts that Daze has an important role to fulfill in the future of their world, and their journey will be dangerous. Annette assumes that Yisha's going to try to convince her not to go with him, but she is shocked when Yisha expresses confidence that Annette will do a great job supporting Daze. Before they leave, Yisha asks Daze if Suzuki became evil because he was granted power he didn't deserve. Daze doesn't know, so she wonders if Suzuki will have to continue living a miserable life in his old world. Daze explains that Suzuki's story will continue and it will be up to him whether it becomes a masterpiece or not. Yisha is glad to hear that, and our group leaves. We then see Suzuki in his old world. He has just finished up interviewing for a job, and he is told that he can start tomorrow. Suzuki heads outside, and we get a look at a piece of one of the pages from Dase's book that says to be continued. Elsewhere, Yisha goes to another cathedral to meet with the other archbishops. The one named Wolf has started drinking again because his jurisdiction is filled with dwarves. He calls Yisha lucky because her jurisdiction has demi-humans and she doesn't have to deal with dwarves all day. A third member arrives and scolds Wolf for being a speciesist. Wolf commends this guy for not only being the first non-elf to be appointed priest, but also for achieving the rank of archbishop. This big red guy is a goblin, and he points out that a person's species doesn't really matter. There are even some elves that behave in a way that is disgraceful. Wolf is insulted, but Cardinal Miller arrives to stop their argument. Miller's the one that summoned the priests, and he prepares to hear the reports. Just then, another priestess arrives in embarrassing fashion, and she apologizes for being late. The new girl's name is Arya, and she is Annette's replacement. She says that she has nothing to report, but she must apologize when Miller points out that some girl recently inherited the throne in her jurisdiction. The big red guy's name is Elton, and his report reveals that things are peaceful as always in his jurisdiction. Wolf oversees the land of desert and earth, and he has nothing of importance to report. There are frequent conflicts between dwarves, but it's nothing out of the ordinary, and they even attack Wolf sometimes. Yisha introduces herself to the newbie, and reveals in her report that an Otherworlder went on a rampage and destroyed half of a town. Miller explains that the Otherworlders are exactly why he called this meeting. The wrathful Dark Lord has already been defeated by a group of Otherworlders, so it has been decided by the Pope that the magic circles connecting their worlds will be sealed. This means that they will stop summoning Otherworlders. Elton is glad that their battle against the Dark Lord has ended, and Wolf is relieved to finally be free from looking after the Otherworlders. However, Miller gets very serious and reveals that there is a new problem at hand. The 7 Otherworlders that defeated the Dark Lord have claimed the Dark Lord's lands and become its new rulers. The others are shocked, but it gets worse as the Otherworlders sent a declaration to the Pope. Their intentions are to transform all the lands into a utopia. The Pope is greatly distressed because he believed that the Otherworlders were angels sent to save this world, and he loved them because of this. However, these people that he considered his own children have now bared their fangs against him and declared war against the world. The 7 angels that saved the world have become 7 fallen angels who are now threatening the world. That isn't all though, as there are other fallen Otherworlders who have begun causing chaos in each region. As if all that weren't bad enough, the daughter of the Dark Lord named Waldelia is still a threat. It's the mission of the archbishops to protect the peace of this world, but they can't believe that the Otherworlders have become their enemies. If the Otherworlders work together, then they will surely become more of a threat than the Dark Lord was. Arya wonders how they will fight such a threat, and Yisha thinks back to Dase's power. Yisha declares that there might be a way to defeat the Otherworlders, and she tells the other bishops about Daze. She explains that he used his gift to send an Otherworlder back to his own world. The others are stunned to hear that such a power exists, and the Pope arrives to question if this is really possible. Everyone bows down to him, and the Pope declares that Daze might be the ray of hope among all the darkness. The Pope is intrigued by him and instructs Yisha to tell him more about Daze. Elsewhere, a man asks a woman if she is thinking about her beloved. This girl doesn't speak though, and only hums a song. The guy explains that their allies have departed to various lands. As for the 2 of them, they will remain where they are and observe what's in store for this world. Elsewhere, our trio decides to stop at a town before reaching their destination. A voice announces that Tama has reached level 17, but she isn't happy about leveling up just from dragging a coffin around. Some random kid shows them where the inn is, and he offers to give them some information that will help them on their adventures. This kid explains to them something called a hero introduction service. It's a service that assigns otherworlders to accompany parties that lack confidence in their skills, providing them with a safe and comfortable journey. Tama thinks about the evil otherworlders she has met, but the kid reminds her that otherworlders are heroes meant to save the world. The hero introduction service is a business idea this kid came up with, so he offers to introduce the girls to an otherworlder for only $40,000. Tama declines such a silly offer, but Annette eagerly orders one valiant warrior. Tama scolds her, but Annette says that it's a small price to pay for Dazai's safety. The kid thinks that there's a deceased person in the coffin and assumes that he wants safety from beyond the grave. Of course, he is shocked when Dazai reveals that he's actually still alive. The girls explain that Dazai is a hero as well, but the kid doesn't think he looks like one at all. He introduces himself as Nier as he takes Annette's money and he goes to get them their adventurer. Tama's relieved to be getting a warrior on their team to pull Dazai's coffin, but Annette refuses to give that job to anyone else. That night, our trio waits for Nier at the inn, but Dazai is sure that he won't be returning. The innkeeper knows all about Nier, and Annette confirms that they gave him money. She reveals that Nier actually scams people a lot, and it turns out that he has never even met an adventurer. There is no way he could introduce anyone to an adventurer, and they were just fooled by Big Mouth Nier. Annette becomes furious, and Tama does her best to get her to take deep breaths. Nier is an orphan, and he makes a living by fooling visitors who come to town. He doesn't have any adults in his life to scold him, so he has become the town nuisance. The innkeeper is sure that the heroes Nier talks about don't exist, because if they did, then they would have saved Nier by now. Elsewhere, we find Nier under a bridge, and he stares at a sword. The sad moment is interrupted when he is captured by a mysterious group. This group takes all the money that Nier saved up, and they tell him that they plan to end his life. Nier becomes furious and declares that his otherworlder friends will come to rescue him. These horrible guys mock the kid and reveal that they're actually otherworlders themselves. The guys wonder if this is Nier's first time seeing overpowered abilities, and Nier is horrified as his entire world is crashing down. The boss shows off his ultimate weapon and declares that it can even pierce the skin of a dragon. The guys have heard that Nier has been using the names of otherworlders to make money, so they call him an evil little kid that needs to be punished. They tell him to cheer up because he can brag in the afterlife about being eliminated by heroes, and they begin a 5-second countdown. Nier has lost all hope because he always thought the otherworlders were heroes. He prepares for his life to be over as the countdown ends and he is shot at, but Dazai comes out of nowhere to rescue him. Dazai says that they have no right to call themselves heroes and blames liars like them for why children misbehave. One of the thieves analyzes Dazai and he panics as he realizes that he is also an otherworlder. The thief says that Dazai is nothing to worry about though when he sees that Dazai not only has just one hit point, but he's also poisoned. The boss is determined to get revenge for scaring them, and he tells Dazai that his life will now end. Unfortunately for him, this actually intrigues Dazai. The thieves start panicking again as Dazai's vitality starts to rise rapidly, and he tells them to aim for his heart when they shoot him. The thieves are horrified to see how calm Dazai is, so they run for their lives. Nier wonders if Dazai is a hero, but Dazai says that he's no one special. He says that adults are kids who have been betrayed, but Nier is just a child, and he's not ready to become an adult. Nier's eyes still admire heroes, so for now that is how it should be. Dazai makes his exit, but the kid is shocked to see that he's just leaving him behind all tied up. The next morning, our trio prepares to head straight for the town of Grun. The girls can tell that Dazai didn't get enough sleep, so they wonder where he went the night before. Dazai doesn't say, so Annette suspects that he went to see another woman. Dazai doesn't tell her and just begins to rest. Just then, Nier shows up, and Tama demands they to give him back their money. Nier says that he didn't lie to them, and he will be the valiant warrior to join their party. As the journey continues, Dazai receives some experience points for exploring a new area. The annoying announcement voice makes Dazai want to end his own life, and Nier is shocked to hear him speak this way. Nier warns the girls about Dazai's depression, but Tama reminds the kid that he's supposed to be a valiant warrior, and she makes him drag the coffin. They eventually arrive at Tama's hometown of Grun, and there is a security checkpoint. Tama tells the others not to worry though, because she's a bit of a celebrity there, and will easily be able to get them through. Tama goes to speak to the guards, but our group is quickly surrounded. They are being arrested, but Daze just seems to get intrigued. Our group is thrown into a cell, and Annette becomes depressed when the gods don't answer her pleas for help. Thanks for watching my recap. Subscribe to the channel to help us get to 700,000 subscribers.